All right, so I have been trying endlessly to figure these things out, and I'm so not up to date with even how to use technology. But let me tell you something. I have lived a life, and I'm grateful to God for the adventure He put me on. But can I just tell you, when does it end? When does the crazy, human, selfish core stop? When it was March 13th, 1993, God woke me up. And that's the best thing I could say is I got woke up and I was doing drugs, like very selfish, selfish story for drugs. And I feel the more honest I am with everyone who watches these things, the better. I was doing a drug I was born into the life of, and I had a surface, and I was giving myself some party favors. And my good friend Danielle had given me a Bible, and it was on my surface. So I tossed it over to the bed and I did my party favor and I went laid back on the bed to, do the duration of the time needed in order for it to saturate my feelers. And I look over and the book's open. And all I could see was love and what it does. And it was First Corinthians 13. I then turned to Psalms and Proverbs, and never had God been brought into my house. I mean, you knew there was church, but I didn't belong to a church because, in my opinion, and from what I've been raised to understand, I wasn't that kind of person. I wasn't a God person. God didn't want me. And I feel since my mom had died at a very early age and had been my light of guidance and love, since she had died in a car accident, I was cursed and God didn't want me to have happiness because I could fake it really good, but I never felt accepted. And all the times I ran for student council positions and lost, the rejection just mounted. And then at 18, I get handed money, lots of it. And so I bought everything. I bought everything you're supposed to acquire through a lifetime to bring happiness and contentment to you. And I was never happy. And even though I still adore the people that I hung out with and I insisted they hung out, there was some that went along for the money ride. There were, but for those that were truly my friends, and I wouldn't have lived without them anyways, I would have forced them to come hang out. When the money's gone, the money's gone. And then you have to realize, are you a good person? And I found myself not liking me. Um, but everything I had learned through examples set before me, I faked a life for decades. And it wasn't until my 40s, even long after God woke me up to Jesus and love and a better understanding of a future, I still faked it. My faith was real, but I had to struggle with the fact that I loved smoking pot. And it was fun, and I looked forward to it. And it was fun to be at work stoned, and I didn't drink back then. So when I went to my bar job, I liked getting super baked. When I went and booked bands, I liked getting super baked. And I didn't care. I thought it was cool. I liked the whole idea of being wake and bake, smoked out, nap time, until one day I realized I'd love to get up at 6 in the morning and see the sunrise. And I couldn't because my lifestyle was centered around smoking pot. Not that that was the problem. The problem was my eyes never had been on God before. I didn't even know the truth about Jesus. First story I ever read in the Bible, I was very young, under 10 years old, and it was my mom's like Catholic Bible with illustrated pictures. And you see this man with a crown holding a baby upside down and a sword in his hand. So I remember briefly reading that. to learn if this man is going to cut this baby in half and give one half to one lady and one half to the other lady. And I'm just terrorized at this point, just like, oh my God, oh, they're going to kill the baby. And then I remember how he knew who the real mother is, because that was the argument with Solomon. And the wisdom that God gave him was he understood how to tell who the real mom was, because the real mom wasn't going to let anything happen to that. I became a mom and my world just brightened. And unfortunately, I thought I needed more. And luckily, by the grace of God, my daughter's father's family were God fearing people with great faith. Her grandpa, I think that's why I had to have her, because I had only spoken to her dad once, and it was that day. Some of his friends had been people I knew growing up, but I'd seen him our whole growing up in junior high and high school, but never talked to him, said a word. And that night, he had the long hair. It was the 90s, Eddie Vedder. Totally. That's who I was with that night was Eddie Vedder because I so was going to marry a rock star. And Jordan's dad could play music and he was fabulous. And all the girls that worked for me at the pizza place were like, oh, he's so cute. So I felt I'd get some good status if well, my attitude was like this. I'm going to go sleep with this guy and totally dominate that situation so that I'm the coolest girl in school, even though I wasn't in school because I was, what, 21? Yes, because we were able to go get Mickey's freaking big cans. And I lost my license at the gas station that night. And my good friend Bill called me at the pizza place and said, I have your driver's license. I didn't even know it was gone. I had a blue Toyota truck, a four-wheel drive blue Toyota truck. I loved partying and I loved playing and I loved running around and I couldn't sit still. To this day, I have a very hard time sitting still. I still love smoking pot. I have not smoked marijuana in over 30 days, a month solid. I am in Arkansas getting a low pay job at my age so that I can spend the summer with my two babies because we're in a custody battle. I had let them go to visit, and the promises made to me, it wasn't that I could trust what the person giving the promises was saying, but I could trust God. And to this day, I still trust God. I spent 27 days. No charges were filed eventually, and they let me go because never in my life did I expect any state to be different than my home state of California. Texas. Talk about a trip. God made me sit down for 27 days, and that Bible saved me. I got back in my faith stronger than ever. And I had to look around and realize there are some people who this world has programmed to believe they'll never have better. Why are we doing that? Why are we not lifting each other up? Why are we not encouraging everyone to go for it? Look, I learned from my teenage years, my dad put the fear of God into me, but I still kind of messed around. I was smoking cigarettes at a very early age, but he'd leave me home for weekends at a time. Never did I throw a party. You want to know why? Even though I wanted to throw a party so bad and be the cool person, because if he showed up while I was throwing a party, it would be worse than death. And that scared me enough. I think Tammy and her man, and I think Jennifer, of course, Jennifer, she got to come over a few times and spend the night with me. But then our senior year, like we had our fake friend called Marianne. We convinced our parents Marianne was one of our besties, and we'd spend the night at her house, and there was no Marianne. So we were being a little dishonest. But my family in Santee was the draw of everybody. Everybody loved my family. Everyone wanted to hang out at Grandma and Grandpa's. So did I. Well, I couldn't go there if they were hanging out there and my dad didn't know because wasn't supposed to even leave whose house I said I'd be at. So as I had kids, I realized if you're honest with them and you tell them, look, you're going to make your choices. There's consequences. I love you. Just tell me truth. And I began the truth weapon. See, truth is a weapon. We are all given, regardless if we even have faith in a higher power or the Almighty God or have best friendship with Jesus like I do. He is the rock star that I ended up marrying. And I've never been married to a real ceremonial relationship. I've only committed to a real relationship once in my adult years, and my heart still loves my first love in a but not in a fantasy way anymore. I think I adore his life because I see what he did and how courageous he was to do it, and how beautiful his babies are. I have beautiful babies. But unfortunately, my three younger ones, and I only have the two dads. I have the one for my oldest, and my oldest graduated 2 degrees, 4 years, and she exercises a degree to make her money these days, her career, in a degree that's very hard to make money at. And yet she does it because she's freaking amazing. And as much as she refuses to talk to me, I pretend like she hears me yelling at her because one of her favorite songs of all time was was the Blink 182 song. And she had described how they made it and how the two artists had gone and made it separately and then threw it together the next day and it worked. And she was just so admiring the way they did that. And I remember the way her face looked as she's listening to the song. She's in her little land like I do. And if you can't keep up, squirrel. That's what it's all about, people. That's why it's entertaining. My oldest became the success I had longed for, but didn't know which direction to go. But the encouragement we gave her was all that mattered. Plus, her dad was like the greatest, to this day, is one of the greatest musicians of all time, and he's blessed. His dad was blessed with his parents. Grandma Vera, God rest her soul. She's amazing, one of the kindest people I ever met in my life. Um, she was a foundation for her family. And as hard it is for me to be what I like to say rejected and kicked out of the family that my oldest daughter belongs to, it's even harder to know that I made the choices that did that to me. My three younger children were born from the same father. I wanted to play God. I later learned after 10 years of being with him, I was trying to fix him. I thought if I loved him hard enough, if I took the beatings and the cheating, then he would eventually realize how awesome I was, not pathetic. And the pathetic, to this day, he still likes to throw that whole, you're so under the bar and you're so old. No, dude, because I look better now than I've ever looked in my life. And it's because I love myself now. Only because Jesus, though. Jesus is like, Pollyann, stop it. I love you. Stop hating yourself for stupid reasons. I love you. So the stupid reasons became the drug use. I began to realize that regardless of what I was doing and bringing into my body, like scriptures say, if you know your scriptures, you know I'm telling the truth. It's not what we put into our body, it's what comes out. And yes, read your Romans. Every good intention paves the way to hell because only Jesus Christ can bring you into the body that will exercise the truest of love in order to move forward, dominating the evil that is already crushed under his feet. It's like, I wanted to be the superstar for this one. And when he showed me that I couldn't be the superstar no matter what I did to help, because there was no help in him, he had it. He had it. He got that. He's driving it. He's driving the vehicle down heavenly highway. And we are able to exist in a realm of heaven on this earth. Read the Lord's Prayer. Listen to what the words say. I believe in my heart of hearts, everyone had the best intentions with the God factor. The problem is, it's not for any of us to hand another person faith. It is a personal relationship with Him or whomever you have been introduced to as the one who loved you the most. And I know it's Jesus. Like he loves me more than he loves any of you guys. I'm totally sorry I said that, but it's true. Pretty sure of it because he favors me and I'm an asshole. But The one thing we have to stop doing is pushing the right and wrong tree. The tree of knowledge of good and evil was not supposed to be eaten from. Why? Because it opens our eyes to right and wrong. When we eat from the tree of life, we see the beauty in everything, even in the worst circumstances. There will be a light. Find it. Find that light and cling to it. And yeah, I've spent many a days on a bathroom floor begging for mercy as I feel like something is beating me down over and over again. I just can't get up. I don't want to get up after a while. And I don't want to think about my kids and the people that love me because, in my opinion, they're better off. I could take care of them when I cross over. And then it's the love of my life, Christ, Jesus, is calling me. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. Let me wipe it off of you. Hold back your hair. Because we all live a different reality. Some of us were given a very content and awesome, peaceful, loving life with people who love us every day. A lot of us weren't. A lot of us had to deal with an emotional scar from very early on, rejection. Someone betrayed us over and over again, and then we just clung to the betrayal because it was safer. I have a 14-year-old son who it took years to help him walk through a doorway that when it's peaceful, he doesn't start chaos on purpose because he's comfortable there. I have a best friend, and that was my prayer for years was like, okay, God, just one loyal friend that is my friend. And I got that with my Elizabeth, my Queen Elizabeth, one of the most loving people I've ever met in my life, and not a Bible in her house. I always ask, can I get your baby a Bible? Because she has two grandkids and she loves them so much. And she's such a good mom. She's such a good grandma. She lives for her family. And the hardest thing for me to swallow is, am I doing that? No, because I listen to outside influences tell me how I'm supposed to do that. So I stopped. And now they even tell me more of what I'm doing to fuck up. I'm off path, fucked up. But you know what? My faith is solid. Like, let's put it this way, everybody. If he was to show up, the Almighty God rocked us real quick. What are you doing? Are you in awe that it exists? Are you fearful that he's going to say he doesn't know you? This one right here, this child of God, this heir to the Zion throne, because I am a bloodline Zion. My dad's mom, maiden name Zion. You know how important that is to me, especially with prophecies of the older, large prophets. Speaking of that, plus, we got a lot of Psalms going on. It's the city of David at the second coming, Mount Zion. God dwells there with us. I'm totally a leadership there. Fine. Yeah, even if you did have a vote, you would vote for me. I know, because you guys love that. But in all honesty, you start to realize the Bible starts to overlap. And all the prophecies of before become now because it is the second coming, people. Whether you want to need signs or all these things, maybe you should talk to God and ask Him if it is. In 1993, it begun. I'm not the only one who knows this. I was informed of this years later, a couple years later, by a biblical group that were truly of scholars. How lucky was I? Because all I asked God for, okay, I'll do this. All I need to know is the truth so I don't get led astray. And don't let me be afraid. When shit goes down, God, please don't let me be afraid. And I've heard so many people say I'm not allowed to talk the way I do, dress the way I do. You know what? I did that to myself for so long. Why would I let you do it? Because I'm influential and I just want your approval? Because, oh, that's right. God already approves me. If there's something He wants me to stop, He'll take it out of my life. And He'll do so in a manner in which I don't look back. Because God does it. I just don't want to fall on my face anymore and have people laugh, so I ask Him not to shame me. So, all in all, as my time is short and it's time for me to cut this off, just remember love is patient and it's kind. And sometimes you have to sit on your hands for 27 days to remember who's the boss. With all my heart and soul, I serve a loving God. And I don't care who you think he is, that's between you and God. I know who he is, and I love it.